This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Again, Molly, I told this story to you off air. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were thinking about where to go for a long weekend. Quebec City, boom, top of the list, out of nowhere.
And here we have Caroline. So it's really just a perfect day.
Perfect day. Caroline Proulx joins us. She's Quebec's Minister of Tourism. She joins us live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Caroline, tell us about Quebec. What do you think are the greatest attributes that maybe our listeners maybe don't know about? But it's so close to New York, and you know.
Well, since this is Bloomberg Radio, how about 30% off?
That's they quite love a pitch.
That. The dollar rally.
Ain't that a pitch? I mean, 30% off. I just flew in Boston. Actually, drove down to Boston, and 142 Canadian dollar for $1 American US dollar. So it's 30% off. It's just a drive away from either Montreal or Quebec City.
Yep.
And we are both cities, fun cities, having festival during the winter, live DJs outside, and just having tons of fun with Carnaval de Québec, who's celebrating its 70th birthday. The largest winter festival in the world is hosted in Quebec City.
And when is that?
January 24th, February 11th. So we extended an additional weekend this year.
I think what a lot of people around here say, you go there and you feel like you're really in Paris. You really get the European feel, yet it's a short drive or a short flight.
Exactly.
You have to deal with,
Is that what you're hearing from Americans who come to visit?
Absolutely. It's UNESCO World Heritage in Quebec City. So, yeah, you have a taste of Europe at a fraction of the price. And as you said, just across the border, 4.5 hours, 5 hours, driving either to Montreal or Quebec City. And the scenery is just spectacular. Just flirting along the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Yep.
Hard to find better spots.
So how did that part of Canada deal with the pandemic, I guess during the pandemic and post? How has that kind of evolved for you guys?
It was extremely difficult as a tourism minister. Like you guys, everything was shut down. Extremely, extremely hard, though. I have an extraordinary finance minister who understood the value of tourism. I think every country realized the money power behind tourism and how much it brings back either to a nation, to a country. And my finance minister heard that loud and clear and gave me, for the industry, $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion across Canada. I was the province that got the most. And recently we just had a meeting, all the provinces, and Quebec is leading on this comeback after the COVID. So investing was a good thing. When you reopen, you want to make sure that everything is up and running. and we even decided to invest during the pandemic. So a hotel, an attraction that needed a little bit of lift, we invested. We invested in direct flights also. First time a government is investing in direct flights with Air France. So those are the kind of deals that we put on the table during the pandemic, and Quebec is first ranked in Canada.
So what's really popular that's bringing people back in? I mean, I know you just mentioned Carnival, and then also some sporting events that you were telling us about. And obviously the tennis fan in me wants to talk all about the Montreal and Toronto events. But tell us about everything else.
Well, the sports events, we figure that when you invest like Montreal Grand Prix, the Formula One Grand Prix, the President Cup, hoping to have Tiger Woods against the Canadians in September 2024. So let's take the President's Cup. It's $5 million for the government of Quebec. 1 billion people watching. Can't have a better marketing campaign than that. Yeah. $70 million back into the province, and 45,000 visitors, international visitors. So this is the kind of investments that we want to go to. We have the Women's World Cup skiing coming to Mont Tremblant, just up north of Montreal. So really, really investing in sports, international sports events. We have, of course,
where do a lot of the typically just for Quebec, where do a lot of your tourists come from?
Mainly Ontario, first market, but the first international market is, of course, you guys. We have this long relationship, Quebecers, with New England. During the summer, we go to Cape Cod, we go to the ocean. And New York is Quebec's first market. So a very long relationship. And of course, France, because of the language, we have a big market in France. What is emerging right now is Germany and also Brazil. Brazil now has a direct flight from Rio to Montreal. So we see... and Mexico. Mexico is a market that is emerging and coming a lot to Montreal. Can you believe they like winter? They're crazy about one Mexican out of two is traveling to Quebec between October and March. So they come in, the very rich Mexicans come in and spend the weekend at Tremblant or Club Med. We have the very first four-season Club Med in North America. Is in Quebec, just by the St. Lawrence Seaway. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you then a bit more about Carnival. It sounds like this, big winter wonderland, and I'm imagining like this snow globe-like experience. Because, somebody like me, when I think of like a winter vacation, it usually revolves around skiing, and I'm immediately put off because I am of the people who don't ski in the world and I don't know what to do. So is this one more for those of us like me in the world who maybe are not into skiing but want to do something else in winter?
It's exactly for you and all the others that don't
all right,
like
count
to
me
ski.
in.
Okay, yeah. Well, do you like music, DJs, local food, party up until midnight?
All of the above.
Well, that's the Carnival for you. We have this gigantic bear that is 83 feet tall, that either the professional or the kids or just experiencing a new thing you can climb on during the festival this winter. Yeah, it's for everyone. The
People
kids
actually climb on this? Is this safe?
Yeah, it's safe. You have professional, you have harnessed.
Oh, okay.
Of course, yeah. It's
All
just
right.
not. No, it's.
So you said kids, so I got it. I didn't
Well,
know.
it's just the foot of the bear for the kids, but you can go up to the nose of the bear if you want to do the whole thing. Yeah, it's absolutely secure, and it's fun that you mentioned security because we see in the numbers, and we have to thank Eat, Pray, and Love, but a lot of women are traveling single now, and they want to make sure that they land in a city, in the country, in a nation that's safe and secure. And Quebec is all that for women that want to travel alone.
How about the recent announcement about travel visas for Americans to go to Europe starting in January 2024? I don't know what that's all about. Who came up with that? But what does that mean for your business?
We're still studying, and we're still trying also to understand what the business is about. I think we just came out of the pandemic with passport and vaccines and all of that. I'm not sure what is the intent seriously behind that measure, and we are having discussions and will continue to have discussion to understand really what is the point of having such a measure. Honestly, I do not know.
But
I do not
presumably
know.
people say, too much of a hassle to go to Paris. I'll go to Montreal or Quebec City.
Well, it's going to be an advantage for Canada, that's for sure, and it's going to be an advantage for Quebec. But I'm not the kind of minister who stops Quebecers from traveling either to the States or Europe. So on that part, I'm not sure what the intent is.
All right, just real quick. I was just looking through the notes here. Mountain Plan. What is that?
Oh, okay. So climate change. Can't deny it. I think we had a very bad taste of that last summer here in New York. I mean, the fires, from Quebec was pushing here down in New York. So basically, the ski stations are based on one model, ski.
Yep.
And what we're saying is with climate change, you need to work on a 4-season offer. So we're giving money to the ski station to make sure that they develop a 4-season activity. Okay. So what are we doing? We're doing some bicycle trails up in the mountain, and we're doing some bicycle racks on your chairlift.
All right, so that's which they do a lot out west in the U.S. So that makes sense to kind of do more of a 4-season thing. Caroline Proulx, thanks so much for joining us, Quebec's Minister of Tourism. Well, if you like rock and roll guitars, rock and roll guitar music, and the guitarists who actually play them, this is your story here. Martin Nolan joins us. He's the executive director at Julien's Auctions. He joins us on Zoom from the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square, New York City. How cool is that? Martin, you guys have an auction coming up, which I love the title. It's called Played and Worn. Oh, wait a second. Played, Worn, and Torn. Rock and Roll, Iconic Guitars, and Memorabilia. That's an auction coming up here. So tell us about what kind of the stuff you guys are going to have at this auction here.
Yeah, we have Eric Clapton's The Fool guitar, estimated 1 to 2 million, 1965, 64 Gibson SG. We have Kurt Cobain's Fender Mustang, it's Skystang 1 from In Utero Tour, the last guitar he ever played.
Wow.
Comes from his brother Chad, estimated 1 to 2 million. We have Elvis Presley. We have all of the greats represented. This is over 1,000 items going on the auction block on exhibition here at the Hard Rock Cafe Times Square this week. Next week we take it to Nashville, and that's where we're going to have the auction with over 1,000 items. Of course, Played, Worn, and Torn, a rock and roll auction. It's an annual event, and it's going to be fun. And these items are now considered as an asset class.
So, yeah, tell us, Martin, Paul and I were just trying to figure this out amongst ourselves, who some of the buyers of this kind of stuff might be. Are these individuals or, people who obviously have some kind of an affinity for rock and roll, or could it even go into a place like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like where's the end buyer at?
Yeah, well, of course, we're here at the Hard Rock Cafe, and they have one of the largest inventory of really cool rock and roll memorabilia, so they would be a buyer. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well. Museums love to have items like this because it brings people through the door. Everybody can relate to three-dimensional items like a guitar or an item of clothing, a piece of jewelry. And so that's why people are gravitating towards these. They're the cool factor. They're a great conversation piece, and certainly if you own a guitar, you can pick it up and play it at a dinner party or in your office or wherever, and chances are it will continue to appreciate in value. Hedge funds are a big buyer of these items as well because you see these now as an asset class, as an investment. Julien's Auctions, we're celebrating 20 years this year, and when we started 20 years ago, memorabilia was just sort of for the fans. There was signed posters and CDs, etc. People didn't really look at their guitars and their inventory of equipment or microphones or items of clothing as an investment or as an asset. And now we're really educating people about that because these are items that will continue to appreciate in value.
All right, Martin, I'm glad we got you back. Martin Nolan, Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer of Julien's Auctions, joining us on Zoom from the Hard Rock Cafe in New York City, talking about their Played, Worn, and Torn rock and roll iconic guitars and memorabilia. That's an auction, folks.
Classic Bloomberg always comes back to hedge funds, right?
Exactly.